Have you ever watched something that made you stay up way later than you should? Or like reading a really good book when you started at like 8, 9 o'clock, and then you look at the clock and it's 2 a.m. or 3 a.m.? That's what my son and I did last night with this series because we were so riveted with what's going on, but also so, I guess, traumatized by what's going on in this series that we had to stay to find out what was going to happen next. That's what Adolescence is, the new Netflix mini TV series. I'm going to talk about it, non spoiler, of course. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name's Ruben, and this is my review for Adolescence. I think there are very few series these days that are willing to push their creative boundaries so much like this that people will have it talking for many days afterwards. For example, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie called Mass. It is a single location where something horrific has happened, and two families end up in a room together to talk it out. And what transpires is one of the most riveting and heart-wrenching stories you will see. It's all centered around to be able to hold your attention, especially in one location. There's been a few films where they've been pretty good, like The Room, where they're one location. This isn't that, but the reason why I'm talking about Mass is that this reminded me a lot of that. So if you took the Mass film and you took some of David Fincher's Mindhunter plus Mass because of some of the intense scenes that you get there. But if that wasn't enough to kind of pique your interest, it's a miniseries, 4 episodes, about an hour long each episode. Each episode is filmed with a single take, and this is where the creativity comes into play. It's the sort of series that has directors for the people, not just directors directing the actors. It's the extras that need a director because it's a movable beast that once it starts, it needs to keep going. Essentially, they've filmed 4 short features because they're an hour long each. The prep work for this is unimaginable. I remember when I worked on a feature for a shot that had a steady cam single take 8-minute shot. It took us 3 weeks in prep. It took 3 days to film, to practice and get right until we filmed it in one shot and got that right. Because you had so many moving parts. Every time the camera moves, the cast and the crew have to move along with it. This series has directors for the crowd, the extras, the actors, and then directors for the people to let them know when they gotta go. At the same time, you've got to learn monologues upon monologues. You can't really do much ad-lib in this sort of one take. So even though you thought maybe they're so good at relating to each other as a family that they may be able to just ad-lib some of the information or ad-lib some of the conversations that they have in between each other. But then there's no control at the timing that is needed exact for each moment. There's some clever techniques that they use in this filming of a one shot where it has to suddenly be on I guess it's either a massive crane or a drone or a car. It has to expertly go from scene to scene. So it's not one location. A lot of each episode is one location, but then they do move. There's a whole scene around a school. One episode is about interviewing some of the school people about the inciting incident that happens. So a young boy is accused of murder. We see from his arrest the intense kind of into his house moment to everything that it takes. Everything is shown in detail because there's no cutting. And for some series or movies even, you would be like, why aren't they cutting? But the creative process in this doesn't allow for that. But then what unfolds is a really intense hour of a moment, a snapshot moment of exactly what goes on in episode 1 of the arrest, everything that is told, the cop's duty, the solicitor's duty, what goes through the parents. Then we have an episode where it takes us to where we see the son at a detention holding place. He gets interviewed sort of Mindhunter style by a psychologist that is outside of the norm. There's an episode at the school, as I mentioned. There's an episode at the end with the family and the repercussions of what this event has occurred. So what we get are snapshots brutally told in an unrelenting hour, expertly crafted, and then we get these actors shining brilliantly. Stephen Graham, who you probably have seen from a bit, plays Eddie Miller, the dad. And he is a dad that's questioning everything about his parenthood, what he has done wrong to maybe have a son be accused of this incident. And could he be guilty or is he not guilty? Then we have Faye Marcy, who's DC Mr. Frank, and Ashley Walters, who's Biscombe, DC Biscombe. And they play their characters that has a real touch to it. Everything they say feels authentic, as if that's what they would do on the job. Emily Pease, who plays Lisa Miller's the sister, she plays it with a subtlety and emotional intensity at moments that often draws the situation of what the parents going in to a more emotional light. The dad, you can see, is always about to break down. The sister is either crying or trying to disappear into her phone, but also trying to connect with what's left of her family. The mother, who is a fantastic actress as well, is trying to hold the family together. The dad is dealing with the repercussions of what society now thinks about this family. Because once you're accused, it's not just the son that's been accused, depending on whether he's guilty or not. It's the whole family then is accused because the parents are looked at. The producers and the creators of this series said that it's a stark reality and reminder of knife crime and the repercussions of bullying that is now different in today's limelight, with particularly the masculinity of guys like Andrew Tate, crafting the younger generation as young as 10, and especially between the 10 and 13-year-old, where they think they need to act or be a certain way. And then the bullying that comes in through social media apps like Instagram, that all plays a part in this series, shining a light that you can't control those around you. You can't be a helicopter parent because that never really works. But you should be having a conversation with your loved ones about all of these things, a continued insight into their life, being around more so, because this shows what could happen. And this isn't based on a particular true story, but it's based on multiple particular true stories that they've crafted to kind of give us a stark reality of what sometimes happens, especially in the UK, because knife crime is so high in places. It was brilliant. I don't know that I'll ever watch it again because it was harrowing, expertly crafted and acted and directed and scripted. Just a phenomenal 4 hours that I think I loved, that I watched. My son, who is autistic and sees things differently from me, was riveted from episode 1. I only mention that he's autism because he says and sees things from a different perspective that I often don't see myself. So we watched this from 2 different age demographics, from 2 different ways of thinking, and I absolutely loved it. So I'm going to give it 5 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
You got one.
Let me know your thoughts down below. Did you manage to get through all 4, or was it too dark and heavy for you? Have you seen those others that I mentioned, the Mindhunter TV series and the Mass movie? If you put those 2 together, it's something along those lines, except then that we do get to go out and see different snapshots across I think a 16-month time period. But yeah, definitely put this on your list if you like those sort of gritty filmmaking with expertly told story that will probably leave you thinking about the consequences of certain events.
She was quite, no offence, quite flat, you know. Right? Well, everyone else said it. Who saw it? That's not just me.
This was an unscripted review. If you like these more, then do let me know in the comments between my ones that I script and then I read off a teleprompter, or the ones I speak from the heart with my film background and knowledge, because I've done this for many, many years as a film entertainment journalist and a person who's worked on film. So I appreciate your time. I value your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what you thought about this mini-series. Can you recommend others like this? What are your favorites? Most of all, until next time, remember, live long Tuesday.